as a worker, as a leader in the Spiritist movement. Certainly, she's partnered with Marcelo, and they've been a blessing for our doctrine. And it's with great love that I introduce our dear sister Andrea, who's going to speak to us on chapter 26. Give freely what you receive freely. Andrea.
Good morning. It's always an immense honor to be here and to be introduced in such a loving way. I must say that the Spiritist teaching has been a true blessing in our lives as well, and we feel honored for the invitation to be able to not only study it, but share some of the reflections that we find in the amazing books that we have now available to us, whether in Portuguese, English, or Spanish. So thank you so much once again for inviting us to be here this morning. We are going to basically summarize chapter 26 of the Gospel according to Spiritism with some of the topics that are brought. We also want to point out that we use not only the Gospel, but the book Missionaries of the Light, as well as the Medium's book. But here are the items that we have with the gratuitous mediumship, gift of healing, paid prayers, and the money exchangers expelled from the gospel. And there are some different aspects to consider on these subtopics brought on chapter 26 that I personally like to invite you to study further when you get home, because it's deserving of lots of attention, not just an hour that we have to go through all of them. But the aspects that we have to consider when we study this topic is basically regarding mediumship. What is the devotion of ours when we choose to work in the Spiritist Center or any other religious groups, when we consider these topics right here? Because a lot of people search for healing. A lot of people search for developing the gift of mediumship, not really aware of what that entails, and having a difficulty understanding Jesus's posture when he was not only performing the healings, but also in this one item here that causes a lot of conflict when he expelled the merchants from the temple, and also the aspect of paid prayer. And so we must ask, when we want to be involved in any of this kind of work, because a lot of people will search the Spiritist Center to maybe find out more how they can apply it. Is it selfless, or do we have some kind of human interest or curiosity? So at our Spiritist Center in North Miami, the one, not ours, but the one that we are blessed to attend, we have a study group right now. One week we study the Gospel according to Spiritism. The other week we study the aspect of mediumship. And it's a class entirely in English. And so we were trying to talk about how the mediumship meeting is not one for curiosity. And so some of the people that were there said, well, but I'm curious. And I said, well, you should be. Everybody's curious to find out what happens in a mediumship meeting, this obsession meeting. Some of them are just training to get there. But there is a difference between being curious and learning about it and being curious simply to attend to find out the sufferings that are exposed in this meeting, which truly is what's happening. It's like an ER. There are souls that are mutilated emotionally and spiritually speaking, that are so deep in the suffering of revenge and hatred that they have lost themselves, or they're so filled with doubts and so filled with loneliness. And so this is an ER. It's a psychological ward. It's a place where we act as temporary nurses, cleaning their wounds so that we can, in return, give them to the true doctors of the beyond, the benevolent spirits. So this is what we are going to focus on today. So mediumship, a faculty of being able to partake in the work of the superior spirits who prepare the place for us to be able to assist. That's what we do. We assist. And a lot of people get lost in the maze of superiority when they find that they're mediums of healing or psychophony, or psychography, as in writing, or intuition, or any kind of mediumship they are. And so we are going to bring back the need to feel humble as far as our topic at hand is concerned today. In the book, What is Spiritism? As we begin in the aspect of giving freely, what we receive freely, we have Allan Kardec on a topic called Mediums for Hire. That's what the title on the second part of the book. I invite you to read the book if you have not yet. Some pretty amazing dialogues between Allan Kardec and the skeptics and those that are curious and those that are against it. It's a pretty amazing book. But talking about the seriousness of mediumship, Allan Kardec will state that no worthy spirit of the higher realm would make themselves available for those charging for readings or futile information. He starts off by explaining in the aspect of paying for mediums, those that actually come would not be of superior authority to just basically give out readings for no reason whatsoever. He states that he could never imagine St. Augustine wasting time just to come and tell us if we're going to win the lottery or if the love affair that we're having is going to work out. He has greater important things to worry about. When Allan Kardec proposed or put himself available for the great effort that it would take out of him to bring the Spiritist codification, and he had all the spirits come, Fenelon, St. Augustine, Pasquale, Paul, Joanna de Angelis, and many others, all under the umbrella of Christ, the dedication and seriousness of work called for those spirits. And Allan Kardec wasn't evoking for silly questions. We just need to open the Spirit's book and find out the kind of questions that he brought. That is very modern and up to date, and a lot of people say that Spiritism is outdated. And so sometimes I wonder if we have truly understood all 5 books of codification, and then what is Spiritism? Spiritism in the simplest expression, posthumous works, and then all of the Spiritist magazines that are now coming out in English. There are 3 Spiritist magazines translated, which you can actually get for free or buy from the United States Spiritist Council to help the Spiritist movement. They have 1858, 59, and 60 already released and translated, and very well translated. I highly recommend the reading of it. So he states that communications from beyond the grave are too serious and require too much respect to serve as exhibition, explaining to us that the Spiritist phenomena or the communication from the beyond is not like the gear of some mechanism because it depends on the will of the spirits. So the phone rings from there to here and not the other way around. And this is something that people have a hard time understanding. So if a person that has the faculty of mediumship, that is a medium, cannot claim to be able to receive a spirit at any given moment, what would they do? Right? What would happen? Because a lot of people begin in the right track. They start channeling the spirits. They start giving beautiful communications. But then something else sometimes happens where excessive pride of being able to, and that's okay to feel proud of the work, but being careful not to have so much pride, forgetting that it is the good spirits that are bringing the messages. And the more attuned with their humbleness they are in understanding their role and the communication, the greater it will be for them to continue receiving the guiding messages and not just futile understanding. Allan Kardec will explain to us that those who educate themselves, Spiritists, love one another, and educate yourselves, is what was brought in the Spiritist teaching, knows that they would have a good reason to suspect that paid mediums who stimulate the phenomena would stimulate the phenomena if there was no spirit to communicate. Or there could be spirits to communicate. And I'm going to share an example that I should be embarrassed, but I'm not, because I was only 18 and I had already knowledge of Spiritism because I was 14 when I started attending the youth education at the center. I remember Maggie and Aide and Leo and Benjamin when I was very young attending the picnics. So I had known better, but I decided to give in to curiosity. And so when I was 18, I had 3 friends who had heard about this wonderful Brazilian psychic in Miami. I lived in Delray Beach at that time. And I was curious too, because she was supposed to know everything. Now, I have already understood how the mechanisms of mediumship truly worked, but I wanted to see for myself. So we got there, and it was a very small place. I don't even remember where in Miami anymore. It was almost 20, it will be 20 years ago next week. I'll be 38. And so we got there, and it was a small room, and there was this medium there, and she lived in a studio, and she told us to sit down. And so she began with my friend, and my friend's preoccupation had to do with a boyfriend. And so, of course, and so she had all the recipe, as in bring a sock from him and a strand of his hair, and also bring some popcorn, because we will take it to the beach that night as we make sure that we evolve him and he falls deeply in love with you. Now, Brazilians are fully aware, and other cultures that do like to, what is the word that we would use? Yeah, it's like Santeria, that's what we can consider. Very common in Brazil and Salvador, where they do this kind of traditions on the beach. I do not recommend anybody looking for this, none, okay? But it's funny because she went through the next friend, and all of us were pretty amazed. One of the things that happened before we got there, we were in the car and we were listening to loud music, as teenagers do, and we were having a wonderful conversation, and then the topic of death came up, and I started saying how I hated cemeteries. I don't like to ride by them. I don't like to walk through them. And if I die, I don't want to be buried. I just want to be scattered on an ocean. I don't want anybody to go visit where I'm not. And we were talking about this, just kind of like in parentheses. And then going back to the location, I started getting afraid, because I started remembering all the things that I had learned in Spiritism, because I was looking at the kind of communication that was taking place, in her overall vibration and tone of voice wasn't a comforting one. It was actually rather scary, the things that she was proposing. And we were about to leave, and she looked at me and said, "You, sit down." She's in the phenomena. She's obviously under the influence of a spirit. So I sat down, my legs shook, and she looked at me and she said, "Why do you hate funerals? Why do you hate death?" And so my friends were amazed. How could the medium have known this? Well, obviously we had company in the car who heard the entire conversation. And she is a medium. She's not a fake. So the spirit that is there just to wow us or to play with us or to cause some kind of commotion gave her the information so she could bring it forward. Now, it's a good thing that sometimes these type of things happen, because it shows the aspect of the immortality, the life goes on, that there are spirits all around us. But something more, we are able to connect with them. We are able to connect with the good spirits, should we wish to as well. And it also was, for me, a good example, because I left there feeling truly scared, and I didn't want to share with Maria Emilia what had happened, because I knew I was going to get in trouble. And one time I actually did, because we did the game of the glasses, or the Ouija board. Here in the United States, have the Ouija board. It's kind of like a Brazilian Ouija board, where you use glasses, empty glasses of water, and then the letters, and you actually connect with the spirits and they answer questions. Well, we actually did that too when I was 16, and a friend's mediumship developed full force, which was terrible in the way that it happened. It scared the bejesus out of all of us, with the spirit that manifested at that game, during that game. And shows the responsibility that we have. We don't know what could happen when we toy around with this type of things. And then we also don't know, as Allan Kardec states, what kind of communication we're going to be receiving, because serious communications are truly something that we need to be aware of. The good spirits will only use their time in accordance with being useful and providential. And that's one of the things that we are going to consider going forward today. So in this amazing book, there was a visitor who started talking with Allan Kardec about the aspect of paid mediumship, which is something that today a lot of people have an issue with. Why can't I get paid for this? After all, I'm donating my time. Some people quit their jobs, as he states here. I can understand that line of reasoning from a moral point of view. However, isn't it fair for those who give their time to the interest of their cause to be compensated for it if it keeps them from working for a living? It's actually a good question. And so Allan Kardec answers. In the first place, are they really doing it in the interest of their cause, or are they doing it for their own gain? If they did leave their job, it was because they were not satisfied with it and because they hoped to earn more or work less at their new one. There is no self-sacrifice in giving one's time when it can lead to making a profit from it. That would be like saying that the baker makes bread in the interest of humankind. Allan Kardec was humorous, right? A lot of people see that serious face, but I think he actually had a humor. Mediumship isn't the only resource open to them. Without it, they would have to earn their living some other way. When they do not have independent means, truly serious and devoted mediums look for ways to earn a living with regular jobs, and they do not give up on their jobs. And so we decided to bring an example, two actual notable examples that we have. The first one is the medium Divaldo Pereira Franco, who resides in Salvador, Bahia. I'm not sure if some of you know. He has dedicated over 60 years of his life for the work of mediumship. And not just that, he has assisted over 160,000 people in this nonprofit organization right here that has about 78,000 square meter of what I call love. Mm-hmm. It's a place that has streets and buildings, that has school, has education, has a place for the elderly, promotes professional assistance for teens so that when they get out, they don't go into a life of crime. They have actually knowledge. He feeds these children daily. He provides them with the kind of education that is not only intellectual, but also moral. Just to give you guys an idea, we have these kids arriving, 3,000 kids daily. They arrive, they're taken out of their clothes, they're put into they take a shower because sometimes they don't even have running water at home. They take a shower, they're given a clean uniform while their clothes are being washed, including their shoes. They receive breakfast, they go to school, they rest, they wake up, they play, they have lunch, and they go into some kind of artifact class, whether it's music or crocheting or whatever the case may be. And then at the end of the day, they take another shower, they put on their clean clothes, and they go home with milk and bread. This happens daily. I've been there 4 times, and every time I go there, it's one of the poorest neighborhood, a slum right here. And when the gates open for you to enter, it's like you entered into a materialized colony from the spirit world. Everything is well taken care of, hygienic. Everything there is in harmony constantly. Obviously, you hear the voices of the kids all day long. But then they just open a center of natural birth where women can go there and receive all of the health care that they can't get easily in Brazil. They have their own room. They have a nurse and doctors 24 hours a day. And this is all because Divaldo Franco, through his mediumship in psychographing over 200 titles, from the selling of it, all of this goes to profit this place, to maintain the Mansion of the Way. And Divaldo Franco, now retired, obviously, because he's in his 80s, continued working his job in government. He never stopped. So the money that he received, very modest. He could have made billions of dollars in the selling of his book. But he understood that what he received freely was to be given freely as well. Whenever you try to give him any kind of honor, medal, plaque, he returns all of this back to Allan Kardec and Jesus, because he recognizes he's nothing but an instrument on earth. That's the stand of humility and modesty with his mediumship. The other one is Francisco Cândido Xavier. And I put this picture here because his mediumship developed really early, like Divaldo's, and the entire life was also devoted to utilizing his mediumship to assist those around him. Over 1 million people assisted, they say, between those incarnate and discarnate. The spirits that he channels, the spirit that he counsels. We have over 460 titles channeled with all proceeds to the dissemination of Spiritism on earth. He was a type of medium who'd say that he never wrote anything. He only wrote what was communicated to him by the spirit realm. A mail delivery man is what he considered to be. Held a modest job as well while disseminating Spiritism. His father tried to persuade him to use the process of the book selling for themselves, and even called them selfish to allow the family to suffer in poverty while his books were being sold by the millions. And he understood all too well that that was not theirs to be kept. Held a modest job. Humbleness was the key verse of the man called love, considering himself to be but a dust in the immense universe of God. Now that's pretty profound. And we find Chico Xavier's mediumship. He was considered the medium of the century because he pretty much had almost all types of mediumship that we can read of in the medium's book. Even Divaldo Franco says that he doesn't even come close to the kind of mediumships that Chico Xavier had. So as we continue, after seeing all of these wonderful examples here, we can ask how many mediums we have in this room. I want everybody to raise their hands. I do. Because Allan Kardec will say that everyone, to any degree, is, to any degree, influenced by spirit. Because we are. So whether we are aware or not, we receive the intuition from the higher realms. Sometimes we might say it was sheer luck. It wasn't sheer luck. It was a guidance that we received. Our channels were open to receive the assistance and information from the higher realms. Especially those that cultivate prayers and meditations and enlightening readings, they are able to be influenced positively, or on the other hand, negatively by the lower spirits, depending on what we wish to be connected with. The faculty is inherent in man and therefore is no exclusive privilege. Therefore, rare are those who do not possess some rudiments of the faculty. We may therefore assume that everyone is more or less a medium. And so as we continue hearing about what he has to say here, referring to the kind of mediumistic faculty that we have, or the kind of potential that we carry, he brings the inspired mediums examples that we find in the book, The Medium's Book. Inspiration comes to us all from spirits who influence us for good or for evil, in every circumstances of our lives, and in every resolution we make. And it may therefore be truly said that in this respect, everyone is a medium, for there is no one who has not about him his familiar spirit, or his spirit guide, or a guardian angel, if we want to call it, who do their utmost to suggest salutary or pernicious counsels to those with whom they are connected. Salutary if they're good, pernicious if those are the low kind of company that we wish to have. Tell me what you do and you think, and we can tell who is following you around, or who's following us around. I'm going to include myself in there because we don't have a good day every day, right? Sometimes a thought crosses our mind in the moment that we are feeling angry or depressed or sad. How many people walk around with thoughts of suicide constantly in their minds, right? Or passion crimes that happen when somebody loses control of themselves. Who are they affiliating themselves with, and what are being strengthened with the feelings that are within them? So mediumship's a natural sense, and we all have it to one degree or another. But one of the things that we have to remember as far as the inspired mediums is concerned is that we need to educate ourselves as well. And the Spiritism Center offers an amazing place for us not only to have the books at our disposal to read, but also hold study groups, which I'm certain Bezerra does, such as this one that we are right here. I'm up here talking, but I'm certain that there are amazing study groups that people can actually talk about this and ask about what's happening to them. Why am I feeling this way? Why are these thoughts crossing my mind? Why am I having this kind of dreams that I am, premonitory dreams? What's happening with me? Right? All of a sudden, I'm at work and I have this urge to start crying out of nowhere. What could be happening to me? And so we have this amazing place that we can study about, and not just that, educate the faculty that sometimes comes out of nowhere. And we have to have a safe place to go and search for the assistance, which the Spiritism Center actually provides for us. The utilization of mediumship is going to depend on the person's moral condition, because mediumship is of an organic factor. So the utilization of mediumship is going to depend on the person's moral condition. And it's for this manner that we say that mediumship can be for the medium is either a cause for spiritual improvement or a negative karma for the future. Why would we say something like this, right? Well, if I am endowed with this gift and I apply it accordingly, it's going to be a cause for my spiritual improvement. I can't imagine somebody like Divaldo Franco or Chico Xavier not earning but the higher places in the spiritual realm for the kind of work that they do. Because it takes a lot of tears, dedication, sweat, stoning. Remember Paul of Tarsus? The kind of stoning that he received. Divaldo Franco and Chico Xavier were no different, or other mediums that are not on the spotlight, anonymously working, that actually have a lot of dedication and efforts for themselves. Because when we get out of our comfort zone and utilize mediumship to be of assistance to others, it's natural that there will be a lot of obstacles and challenges along the way. That's what happens. And a lot of people don't wish to get out of the comfort zone because it's trialsome. It's going to give them sometimes situations where they feel like they want to give up. It's not worth it. But then you have some other mediums who might utilize it, getting paid, for instance, or utilizing for negative things, such as instructions that they're receiving from the lower realms about you should divorce your husband or you should leave your children and you should go and carry on the affair that you're having outside of your home. You should destroy the home. Those are not the enlightened kind of information that enlightened spirits would bring. So the medium in reality is creating for himself even more issues that he will have to address in this life or a future one. Because mediumship is not something that we should be using in a full-time way. It should be applied positively. The development of mediumship depends on the moral development of the medium? No. Strictly speaking, mediumship depends on the organism and is independent of the moral nature. Anybody can be a medium, but it does not mean that they're morally evolved. It doesn't. It's a faculty that they're giving to develop that moral sense. However, it's not the case as regards to the use of mediumship, which may be good or bad, according to the moral qualities of the medium. And we can read that further on chapter 20 of this amazing book on item 226. So Allan Kardec will say that more important than being a good medium, those that are like, man, that medium is definitely a good medium. He says more important than that, it's being a medium with goodness in the heart, more than anything else. A good medium may have a beautiful faculty, but only a medium with goodness is going to have the support of the benevolent spirits, the superior spirits. And that goes without having to say that the moral efforts that the mediums actually make are important for him to either success or not with the faculty that he was given, in always keeping watch on the aspect of the pride that he's also holding. Which brings us to the next item, which is the gift of healing. Jesus said it himself: restored health to the sick, raise the dead, heal lepers and cast out demons, give freely what you have received freely. The healing mediumship, the Spiritist teaching will say, is an indispensable phase for the beginning medium or somebody who wishes to work in the Spiritist center with this faculty. But not just that, it's one of the most amazing gifts to start working with, because it places us in the same place as those that are receiving the passes. Let us explain why. Any pass givers in the room? In the back? She's smiling. So the pass givers that are in the back of the room that are too shy to raise their hands over there, when they go into the passes room and they're connecting to the good spirits, they're acting as generators, transmitters, right? The good spirits are there to assist them. They're giving them all of the healing energies that are coming from the above. It's mixing with theirs. The intention, the will, the desire to do good, they have prepared themselves. I don't see any of them with the face that they might have had a fight this morning. They all look pretty relaxed, all serene, all great qualities. Mixed with that of the spirits, they have to have patience and faith. They place themselves in the same position as those receiving before them, because when we go in this passage room and we sit there, we have to have patience and faith as well. And we are also searching for the connectivity with the benevolent spirits that are there. And so when we receive the restorative energies and we start replacing the ill molecules of our bodies, our perispiritual bodies, with the healthy ones that are coming from the above, we also have to make an effort to maintain that balance. When we leave here, we go back into the real world where the real problems await for us. What are we going to do with this newly received energy to maintain and sustain us in the trials and the difficulties of everyday life? So they say that in the beginning of the mediums, like in the Spiritism Center, if you wish to study, go through the courses that the house offers, participate weekly on the study groups and be an active member of the house, and decide that you want to accept the invitation to be a past giver, one of the things that they say is that's a very defining moment for the beginning medium, if you will, on how he actually not only practices also, but remembers the sublime teaching of Christ when he invited all of us to be able to do exactly what he was doing. We are Christ in training. We can say with humbleness, we can state that, because eventually we will reach that hierarchy, spiritually speaking, that Christ did through the infinite steps that he took to get there. Let's see a little bit from the book. Oh, I invite you guys, this book is not yet available in print, but it's available on Kindle, on Amazon. If you don't have a Kindle, you can download the app, buy it on Amazon, and read it on your iPhone or your iPad. It's a book that was translated from the Portuguese language. It's how sometimes in the Spiritism Center, things happen to try to stop the work. And in one of them, it talks about a medium, a healing medium, who was one of the targets of the lower spirits, who incited within her the pride of healing, made her feel like she was the all-powerful, that she was the one doing the healing, and how this was actually really bad for her as a medium in the Spiritism Center. So this is worth reading to understand why the spirits tell us to be caution of excessive pride when we become past healers, past givers, or healers, if we want to call it that way. So please get the book or ask someone who has read the book as well. So in the book, Missionaries of the Light, this is an amazing book to read as well. It's the third book of the series Life in the Spirit World, where Andrea Lewis brings us some concepts about passes and what happens in the behind the scenes of the Spiritism Center when we are in that room giving passes. So he starts out by saying that in the Spiritism Center, there are many different types of services developed under the responsibility of the discarnate and incarnate workers. So the Spiritism Center that has been open for how long, Maggie? 36 years. There is a guidance and responsible spirits that have been watching and helping and assisting this home with not only the responsibilities of the incarnates, but mostly those of the discarnate spirits as well. And those that work here have a responsibility to be able to be in tune with them, to work with them and receive the assistance that they bring. So Andrea Lewis will start telling us that in the specific work of the passes, he will say that in the Spiritism Center that he attended, and of course this varies from Spiritism Center to Spiritism Centers, we just want to bring what might happen with similarities in between. The work of the passes was attended by 6 spirits dressed in a very white tunics who acted as watchful nurses. They said that not only did they work intensely, they rarely spoke, something that we are not able to do very well, right? We are constantly speaking, especially me. This is kind of funny, there's a picture of 3 birds and 4 birds, 3 of them had their mouths open and one was quiet, and they said, I wonder which one is the woman. And I know it's kind of sexist, but it's kind of funny because women tend to express themselves a lot and communicate, and we like to share feelings and things like that. So they rarely spoke and they work intensely, is what Andrea Lewis was saying. All the persons who enter the room receive their wholesome touch, that of the 6 spirits, and after attending to the incarnates, they ministered effective help to unfortunate spirits from the spirit realm, especially those who compose the family entourage of the incarnate friends. So that actually extends also to spirits who might be lost and might have accompanied us here to the Spiritism Center. Some people are used as tools. Spiritism offers us a view of how we can also help other unfortunate spirits who may have no link to us whatsoever, but they liked us, they had an affinity, they come with us to the Spiritist Center and they receive assistance as well, as it happens in the mediumship meeting. It's truly beautiful. So Andrea Lewis, looking at all of the activity that was happening, brought on some interesting questions, such as, do the workers that attend the Spiritist Center need any special kind of qualifications? In which Alexander, the superior spirit, stated it yes. He said the particular individuals are magnetic assistant technicians. Now put that on your resume. Magnetic assistant technicians who come here to dispense healing passes. If they're technicians, then they received all sorts of training for that kind of purpose. And those who reincarnate, that come with a mission to develop the healing power, they had also been trained in the spirit realm. They were also qualified for the kind of position, if we want to call it that way, that they would offer freely for the benefit of humankind. It is a delicate department of what we do, and it requires much discretion and responsibility. Discretion because of the things they see in the healing passes that we often cannot see and shouldn't need to worry about or see it either. Some people ask before they go in if something is happening to them, if they're feeling any kind of, we don't need to worry about that because the true nurses are in the beyond, often guiding our hands to where it needs to go. Some Spiritist centers don't move their hands at all. They just pray. They're just letting the energy flow. Because the most important chakra is right here. It's the one that is open to the beyond. It's the one that is receiving the energy first and foremost. And because the chakras are vortices of energy, it circulates entirely. A lot of people will do the opposite. They'll go through all the chakras. Every center operates differently, and not one is better than the other. The quality of the fluids will have to do with the intention of the giver. So when Maggie sits before me and I have the utmost desire that she feels better, all my intentions are for her, and I ask for the guidance of the good spirits. They know which chakra is in disharmony, what happened to her at home, if there's something that happened through a jolt of anger that may have given some kind of disharmony in the stomach, which a lot of people get, right? Get stomachache, get diarrheas, get every kind of ulcers because their emotions were out of whack. So they come to the Spiritist Center and they try to rehabilitate her, reharmonize her, replace those ill cells with positive one. And it is up to her to maintain it. You got to read the book. You got to read the book to see the kind of damages that we do to our physical body through every kind of unbalanced emotion, and how we can heal our bodies as well through healthy kind of emotions. So we need qualifications. Missionaries involved in magnetic assistance, either on the physical plane or here in our spheres, must have self-control, great self-control, naturally balanced sentiments, a purified love for their fellow beings, a higher understanding of life, strong faith, and a deep trust in the divine power. Why then do we count on the assistance of the spirits? Because we don't have all of those qualities yet. So they potentialize it. I must point out that on our plane, these requirements are demands that no one can be exempted from. Whereas on the physical one, sincere goodwill can overcome this or that deficiency in many cases. This is justifiable because of the assistance given by the benefactors from our realm of actions to human workers who are still incomplete in terms of desirable qualities. So a humble medium will recognize that we have sometimes the kind of undesirable qualities still within us. So when the good spirits come in assistance, they're making up for what we don't yet have. And that's why it's a mixed work, and one that should remind us to maintain humbleness in the kind of work that we do, because we are receiving direct assistance. Now, if I'm receiving direct assistance from the higher realms, this is one of the reasons why we should not charge. Different from those that have some kind of like, for instance, acupuncture that they were trained for, that's their line of job. It's completely different, the kind of other type of medicines available to us. But in the Spiritist Center, we do not charge for the healing or the benefits that are received here. One of the reasons, or one of the ways that we will ensure that we maintain the connectivity of the good spirits, is understanding this, that we are not working alone, and being humble enough to say that we are in need of the good spirits, so that we can truly be generators or transmitters of this energy that is flowing from the above. André Luiz continues, so even if human helpers display few qualities, can they still be utilized? One of the things that we see happening in the spiritist centers, because we are all brothers and sisters, siblings who fight, who will judge another sibling for not having certain qualities to do certain work at the spiritist center. How many times have we heard in other spiritist centers people coming complaining that they know the kind of lifestyle the person leads, then they come to the spiritist center and they apply the healing passes, that they shouldn't be doing the thing that they are, that they shouldn't be instructing a group, that they shouldn't even be participating in the group. Well, if they shouldn't even be participating in the group, what is this home for? Right? And work is going to be the one factor that will help the person develop the qualities necessary for them to ascend. When we apply ourselves in the benefit of others, we start developing the muscles of virtues that we all have. I started working out, that's why I'm using that, I'm all hurting, right? So you develop the inner muscles of virtues and feelings that we all have within ourselves. And so André Luiz, in asking this question, was pretty interesting, and the answer was even better for us to understand. Of course, as long as they remain interested in the sacred acquisition of the good above and transitory concerns, they can expect the continuous progress of their faculties of radiance, not only from their own efforts, but also from well-deserved help from on high. So they're not requesting perfection from us. They are requesting a continuous effort in the sacred acquisitions of the virtues. That's what they request from us, that they expect from us, that we work through devices that we still hold on to, whether it's physical or moral ones. It's a beautiful spiritist body of knowledge for sure. We're going to go towards the end of our study with the paid prayers, when in the book of Luke, Mark, and Matthew, we find the instruction that we should beware of scribes who desire to walk in long robes and love greetings in the markets, in the highest seats in the synagogues, and the chief rooms at feast. One of the reasons they're saying this is because a lot of people will look for other folks to pray for them, and often they will pay for that. In other philosophies, hopefully this doesn't happen a lot, but even in Spiritism, people will receive gifts for praying for them, receive some kind of honorary benefit from people who all of a sudden their lives turned around. My God, Leo, thank you so much for helping me and praying for me in the session meeting. My life has turned around. Here's a brand new iPhone for your services and all that you have done for me, because I know you walk around with one from the Stone Age. Not acceptable. Not acceptable whatsoever. And one of the things that they say, well, first of all, we wanted to bring back in history who was a scribe. Scribe were persons, the only kind of people who were able to write books or documents. They were knowledgeable in their profession, and their work would include copying books by dictation, so they knew how to write really well, as opposed to those that were around them that did not have that kind of education, and included sacred and holy texts. So they were considered to be not only highly intellectual, but therefore they were also respected individuals because they had direct connection with holy texts. So these people were applauded, they were liked, they were envied. And a lot of them had this kind of a posture where they would charge for the kind of prayer that people were seeking. Humble people, people without knowledge, people who did not understand that they could also be those talking directly to God. And Jesus comes along and teaches us how to pray. He says, remember, your Father knows what your needs are before you ask him. And then he says, this is how you should pray. And then he taught us the Lord's Prayer. Breaking that disconnection that most people feel, that they can't talk directly to God. He's our Father. That we can go to him and sit on his lap and pray and talk to him and open our hearts like nobody could. So when we ask somebody to pray on our behalf, they could never put into motion all of the feelings that we have inside as best as we could. They're not in us. They're not living the trials, the challenges, the pain, the hardships that we are. Nobody can speak to God on our behalf better than we can. Nobody. Even if we can say, oh, I don't know how to pray, we do. It's imagining that He's our Father sitting right before us and we are opening our hearts to Him. And although, like Jesus said, our Father knows what our needs are before we ask Him, it's a position of putting in motion that feeling, that desire, the need, and getting established connection with the spirit world. And we will receive answers for what we wish to, even if we can't see what they are, eventually we will. We're going to finish off with the money changers expelled from the temple, in which a lot of people wonder why Jesus caused all the commotion and throwing chairs all around and doing the things that a lot of people think they did. And we just wanted to bring out that in reality, Jesus condemned every kind of sacrifice that people were making in order to please God, and showing them that the temple was a holy, sacred place. And none of that stuff was needed. Even worse, people who were charging so that others could feel that their prayers were going to be answered as well. It's a little bit different here. So when He got there and He opened the cages of the animals, if we can imagine an animal that is contained, what happens? They would flee, causing all things to run around and people to run around as well, screams, noises of every sort. That's what He did. That's the only thing He did. And then one of the things that they bring is the money exchangers being expelled from the temple and charging for the sacrifices that were taking place so that people would feel that their prayers will be answered. We bring it to the Spiritist Center. Is it wrong to participate in the little lunchroom that the Spiritist Center has, or the small parties that a Spiritist Center throws and we pay a fee? Is it wrong? Right? Are we giving a donation because we feel that we are going to get some, on the right side of Jesus, receiving the benefits that we want? Or do we do it because we want to maintain the Spiritist Center, that we want to maintain the doors open? Because that's the other thing as well. Rent is due, right? So it's a lot different from what they're bringing us here. And we just want to bring this study here in reminding that Allan Kardec in the Benevolent Spirits remind us to constantly not only educate ourselves, but maintain that love for one another as instructed. And mediumship is one of the things that not only do we have to have the love for ourselves and others to practice, but we also need to have the need to educate ourselves as well. And Jesus will remind us that we should walk while we have the light. The light of what? Of understanding, so that darkness doesn't overtake us, so that we don't get lost in the maze that we often do with the excessive vices that still corrupts our heart. And one of the things that we should also keep in mind is that we can all have the opportunity to be called upon in life to be able to lift ourselves from this realm that we are in being service of others. And if we truly wish to learn about mediumship and how it can be best applied in the Spiritist Center, we encourage everyone to not only partake in the public meetings like we have here, but also to participate in the study groups so that we can still continue walking with all of this beautiful light that we have around us. Celebrating April 18th tomorrow, 1857 is when the Spirit's book was finally launched, bringing all of this body of knowledge, of information to Earth to help and guide and assist us. It's not very long ago, but I, for one, feel very honored that we are at a place where we are able to study about all of this reality that surrounds us, if we wish to. So with that, I thank you all for your attention. We are going to do a collective passes right now, which is very much the same. We are going to close our eyes. Instead of having an incarnate before us, we are going to close our eyes and open our hearts in connection with the higher spirituality. And being certain that before us we have a benevolent spirit with their hands over our heads, shining their lights towards us, envisioning our bodies surrounded by this bright light, comforting us, calming our hearts, replacing any negative feelings, ailing molecules in our perispiritual body with healthy ones, and searching as we receive this healing energy for the positive thoughts, encouraging ones that are being suggested to us, even if we can't think, even if we can't hear, our soul feels it. We ask the blessings from our Master Jesus, our benevolent friend who is always with us, so close, watching us, waiting patiently, as the good pastor, as the good master, as the best friend. Let us remember that we can speak directly to our Father above. He understands what we need. He understands what our doubts and sorrows are, even if we don't have the courage to say it. And yet we are reminded to seek assistance and encouragement in the presence of our guardian angel, our mentor, the one who has been entrusted to us since before we were born, a paternal or maternal figure before us daily, in every single day as we open our eyes or we shut them. Let us be certain that we can receive the guide, the guidance, the assistance as we continue on our journey physically on the earth. Let us join our thoughts in prayer for those affected by the earthquake in Japan and Ecuador, thousands without a home in the cold or the rain, those who departed the earth under such a dramatic way. Let us be aware of how much we have around us and that we can give of our time and prayers on their behalf, asking Jesus to help them each individually in their needs. And to end, let us ask for the blessings for the Spiritist Center in the name of Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, our fatherly figure in the spirit realm. Bless all workers present here, volunteers, and attendees, maintaining this home strong, maintaining it open and always ready to receive new souls, incarnate or discarnate, who are in search of the light, tired of the darkness that consumes them. And let us part with your love and light, Jesus, so we can take it home to us and to our work during the week until we can be here again to receive these wholesome energies and vibrations. Thank you, and so be it.